question isn't who's going to let me, the question is who's going to stop me. And this is thoughts while I'm thinking, and these opinions are mine. And a few years ago I read the book Atlas Shrugged, and then the other night I was watching that movie. And there's many quotes in there that relate to today. I thought it would be interesting to provide you with some of those. And one of them is a democracy will cease to exist when you take away from those who are willing to work and give to those who are not. And then there's Rearden and Francisco talking to him, and he, in a solemn voice, he says, if you saw Atlas the giant who holds the world on his shoulders, and you saw that he stood, blood running down his chest, and his knees buckling and his arms trembling, but was trying to hold the world aloft with the last strength he had of greater pressure being applied and bore down on him, what would you tell him to do? And Rearden said, what could he do? And Francisco said, to shrug. And that's where we are. We are shrugged. Atlas is shrugged. And that's the way it is. Oh, my. And if you don't know a thing is not to get scared, it's to learn. Now, let's repeat that. If you don't know something, don't get scared. Just learn. That's where we are. We got to learn what's going on. And today, intelligence is neither recognized nor rewarded, but being systematically extinguished in the growing flood of brazen, flaunted irrationality. And if that doesn't look like what's going on in Washington today, I don't know what does. And do not let your fire go out, the spark of irreplaceable spark in the hopeless swamp of not quite, not yet, and not at all. Do not let the hero of your soul perish in the lonely frustration for the life you deserve and you have been able to reach. The world is desires can be won. It exists. It is real. And it is possible. And it's yours. Now think about that. And you can't avoid reality, but you can't avoid the results of reality, or the consequences of reality. Think about it. And thinking men cannot be ruled, so we got to gather up the thinking men and fight back for our life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And appreciate you subscribing. It's a help, and I thank you much. And what greater wealth is there than to own your own life and spend it growing it? Now think about that. That's where we ought to be and what we ought to be doing. And to face an issue and believe it's the worst is true, oh, that is awful. You got to believe the worst is true. And now we don't want to go there and do that because it never really is. And you seek to escape from pain. We seek happiness and achievement. You exist for the sake of avoiding punishment. We exist for the sake of earning rewards. Threats do not make us function. Fear does not give us an incentive. It is not death that we wish to avoid. It is the life we wish to live. And that's worth the thoughtful thinking. And every man is free to rise as far as he's able and willing. But the degree of which he thinks is to determine the degree of which he will rise. So we got to get back to doing some thinking and quit following instructions and question things and going on. And the world you desire can be won. It exists. It is real. It is possible. And I like repeating that quote because it is there. And there are evil thoughts except those that refuse to think. So we got back to thinking. We got to start thinking about what's going on. And any compromise between good and evil, only evil can profit. Now that's where we've had a compromise in Washington between good and evil, and only evil is profited. Now think about that. And no, we owe no morality to those who hold us under the gun. We just won't be held under the gun. We're free men, free spirits. And the man who damns money has obtained it dishonestly. And the man who respects it has earned it. Now think about that, and think about those that have in Washington that's earned that money dishonest. Think about it. And the desire not to be anything is a desire not to be. So you got to have a desire to be free if you want to be free. So we got to get on, work on that. And those who grant sympathy to guilt grant none to the innocent. And that's where we are in Washington, is granting sympathy to the guilty. And the innocent is we're paying for it. And I win by means of nothing but logic, and I surrender to nothing but logic. Now that is logical. How? Think about that. And sign up, and I appreciate you subscribing. It's a help. Thank you much. And drama does not walk into your life. You either create it, invite it, or associate it with it. But that's what we have today, is all this drama, and we got it there from some reason. And devotion to the truth is a hallmark of morality, and there's no greater and no more nobler or no heroic form of devotion than the act of a man assumes the responsibility of thinking. And that's where we are. There's not enough people out there thinking about what's going on. And just a little reminder, she says that give you a tip on a man's character. A man who damns money obtained it dishonorably, and the man who respects it earned it. Now that's a repeatable, and that's what we got to think about and know what's going on. And money is a living power that dies without its roots, and money will not serve the mind who cannot match it. And that's what's happening in Washington. They don't have the mind to match the money, and money will not buy intelligence for the fool, nor admiration for the coward, nor respect for the incompetent. And that's what they're trying to do in Washington, is buy all of that with the evil, gain money. And the evil of the world is made possible by nothing but the sanctions that you give it. And we got to quit giving sanctions to the evil and get back to fighting for life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And to place other concern higher than justice is to devalue moral currency and to defraud your good in favor of evil. So we got to get back to keeping justice and keeping that justice working. And the desire to live does not give you the knowledge required for living. So you got to learn, and you got to learn how to live. And that's what we seem to have forgot, is how to live. And evil not value is an absence and a negation. Evil is impotent and has no power but that which we let it extort from us. Think about what's going on and what's happening to us. They're doing that to us. And learn to distinguish the difference between error of knowledge and the breaches of morality. An error of knowledge is not a moral flaw, provided you're willing to correct it. Only a mystic would judge a human being by a standard of impossible automatic omniscience. But the breach of morality is a conscious choice and an action that you know to be evil, or a willful evasion of the knowledge, a suspension of sight and of thought. That which you do not know is not a moral charge against you, but that which you refuse to know is an account of infinity growing in your soul. And every allowance for an error of knowledge do not forgive or accept any branch of morality. And we got so much branches of morality going on in Washington, it's unbelievable. And there's no such thing as a public, since public is just a number of individuals. And the idea that a public interest supersedes private interest and rights can have but one meaning, and that's the interest in the rights of the individual takes precedence over the interest in the rights of others. Now think about that. We got to go forward and got to get rid of this public interest that we're always talking about. And the name, the best within you, is sacrifice this world to those that's worst. We can't do that. We got to keep trudging on for life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And the measure of hell you're willing to endure is a measure of your love. And think about that. And we got to love our life, liberty, and the freedom. And one's happiness but mine own is only my power to achieve or destroy. So you got to bring your own happiness. You got to create your own happiness. And we got to work forward to our own happiness. And in this very hour and this very issue is our basic moral choice, thinking or not thinking, existence or non-existence, or a non-entity or a zero. Now think about that and where we're going. And you see, when you see trading done not by consent, but by compulsion, you see that order to produce must be obtained by permission from those who produce nothing. And you see money flowing to those who deal in not good but in favors. And when you see men getting richer by graft and pull rather than by work, and your laws protect them against you, you know that corruption is being rewarded and honesty is becoming a self-sacrifice, and you know that your society is doomed. Now think about our doomed society right now. Think about it. That's where we are. And words are lent to the focus in the mind. Now think about the words that we're using. And there is no honest revolt against reason. Now think about that. We got to move forward with reason and ability and the willing to learn. And thanks for watching. And this is Thoughts While Thinking, and it's adios amigos, and we will see you on the flip side.